Book of Heaven, Volume 14. 16th to the 28th of March, 1922. Page 20 to 28. March 16, 1922. To live in the divine will has nothing great externally. Everything passes between the soul and God. Continuing in my usual state, I was thinking to myself, I feel I am the most bad one of all. Yet, my sweet Jesus tells me that his designs upon me are great, that the work which he is doing in me is so important that he does not want to entrust it even to the angels, but he himself wants to be the custodian, the actor and the spectator. Yet, what great things do I do? Nothing. My exterior life is so ordinary that I do things below others. But while I was thinking of this, my always lovable Jesus, cutting off my thought, told me, "My daughter, it shows how without your Jesus you can think and say nothing but nonsense." My dear Mama also did nothing extraordinary in her exterior life. Even more, apparently she did less than others. She lowered herself to the most ordinary actions of life. She used to spin, sew, sweep, light the fire. Who would ever have thought that she was the mother of a god? Her external actions indicated nothing of this. And when she carried me in her womb, containing the eternal Word within herself, every motion of hers, every human actions, won the adoration of the whole of creation. From her came the life and the preservation of all creatures. The sun hung upon her, expecting the preservation of its light and heat. The earth, the development of the life of the plants. Everything hovered round her, heaven and earth hung upon her every motion. Yet, who saw anything? No one. All her greatness, power and sanctity, and the immense seas of goods which came out of her, were in her interior. Each one of her heartbeats, breaths, thoughts, words, were an outpouring into her Creator. There were continuous currents between her and God, which she would receive and give. Nothing would come out which would not wound her Creator, and by which she would not be wounded. These currents expanded her, raised her, and made her surpass everything, but no one saw anything. I alone, her God and Son, was aware of everything. Such current ran between me and my Mama, that her heartbeat would run within mine, and mine within hers. So, she lived from my eternal heartbeat, and I from her maternal heartbeat. Therefore our lives were blended together. And this was exactly what, in my eyes, distinguished her as my Mama. External actions do not satisfy me, nor do they please me, if they do not start from an interior whose life is formed by me. Now, what is your wonder if your external life is completely ordinary? I am used to covering my greatest works with the most ordinary things, so that no one may point to them, and I may be more free to operate. And when I have completed everything, I make surprises and I manifest them to everyone, making all remain astounded. And it is certain that the work I am doing in you is great. Do you think it is trivial that I make all your acts run in the current of my will, and that the current of my will runs in your acts? And that, as these currents run, they form one single act with all the acts of creatures, making a divine volition flow over all of them, becoming the actor of the act of each one, substituting for all with a divine act, a divine and eternal love, reparation and glory? And that the current of a human will is in continuous relations with a divine will, and that one pours into the other? My daughter, what I recommend to you is that you be attentive and that you follow me faithfully. And I, my love, in these days the circumstances have been such that I felt distracted. And therefore be attentive, because when all that you do does not flow in my will, it happens as if the sun stopped its course. And when you are distracted, you form clouds before the sun and you remain obscured. However, when the distractions are involuntary, a strong and firm act of your will to run in my will, is sufficient to place the sun on its course, and like a rapid breeze, to dispel the clouds in order to make the sun of my will shine more beautifully. March 18, 1922. Sin chains the soul and hampers her in doing good. The rest which God and the creature give to each other. I was accompanying my sweet Jesus in the pains of his passion, and he, making himself seen, told me, "My daughter, sin chains the soul and hampers her in doing good." Her mind feels the chain of sin and is hindered from comprehending what is good. Her will feels the chain that binds her, and feels numb, and instead of wanting good, it wants evil. Her desire, chained, feels its wings with which to fly to God being clipped. Oh, how I feel compassion at the sight of man chained by his own sins. This is why the first pain I wanted to suffer in my passion were the chains. I wanted to be bound in order to release man from his own chains. Those chains which I suffered, as soon as they touched me, turned into chains of love which, in touching man, burned up and snapped his chains, and bound him with my loving chains. My love is operative, it cannot be without operating. Therefore, I prepared for all and for each one that which is needed in order to rehabilitate them, heal them, and embellish them anew. I did everything so that, if the soul makes up her mind, she may find everything ready and at her disposal. So I keep my chains ready to burn up her own, the shreds of my flesh to cover her wounds and adorn her with beauty, my blood to give her life again. I have everything ready. I keep all that is needed in store for each one. But my love wants to give itself, it wants to operate. I feel a restlessness, an irresistible force, which gives me no peace if I do not give. And do you know what I do? When I see that no one takes, I concentrate my chains, the shreds of my flesh, my blood, in one who wants them and who loves me, and I stud her with beauty, bejeweling her all over with the chains of my love. I increase 100-fold the life of grace for her, so my love pours itself out and calms itself. While he was saying this, I saw his chains, the shreds of his flesh, his blood, running onto me, and he amused himself in applying them upon me and in bejeweling me all over. How good is Jesus! May he be always blessed! Then, afterwards, he returned and added, "My daughter, I feel the need that the creature rest in me, and I in her. But do you know when the creature rests in me, and I in her? When her intelligence thinks of me and comprehends me, she rests in the intelligence of her Creator, and that of the Creator finds rest in the created mind. When the human will unites with the divine will, the two wills embrace and rest together. If human love rises above all created things and loves only its God, what a beautiful rest do God and the creature find reciprocally. One who gives rest, finds it. I become her bed and keep her in the sweetest sleep, clasped in my arms. Therefore, come and rest in my bosom." March 21, 1922. The double seal of the fiat in all created things. Continuing in my usual state, I was thinking over the holy divine volition, and my always adorable Jesus clasped me in his arms, and as he sighed intensely, I felt his breath descend deep into my heart. Then he told me, "Daughter of my will, my omnipotent breath gives you the life of my will. In fact, for one who does my will administers to her its breath as life, and as it breathes upon her, it moves away from her all that does not belong to me, and she breathes nothing but the air of my will. And just as the air is inhaled and exhaled, the same for the soul. It is a continuous receiving of myself and giving of herself to me at each breath. My will hovers over all creation. There is nothing in which my volition does not have its seal. As I pronounced the fiat in creating things, my will took dominion over them, and became life and preservation of all things. Now, this will of mine wants all things to be enclosed within itself in order to receive the return for its own noble and divine acts. It wants to see the air, the wind, the fragrance, the light of its volition hover over all human acts, in such a way that, as its acts hover together with those of the creatures, they may fuse together and form one single thing. This alone was the purpose of creation, that the emanations of the wills be continuous. I want it, I demand it, I await it. This is why I am in such a haste that my will, its value and its effects become known, so that, as the souls who live in my will do their acts, through their continuous emanations in my will, they will diffuse them over everything like air, and their acts will multiply in all the human acts, investing and covering everything, as acts of my will. Then will I obtain the purpose of creation. My will rest in them and will form the new generation, and all things will have the double seal of my will, the fiat of creation, and the echo of my fiat in the creatures. March 24, 1922. With their acts, the souls who live in the divine will substitute for the multiplication of the sacramental life of Jesus. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus, on coming, told me, "My daughter, as the soul emits her acts in my will, she multiplies my life. So, if she does 10 acts in my will, she multiplies me 10 times. If she does 20, 100, 1,000 and more acts, as many times do I remain multiplied." It happens as in the sacramental consecration. As many hosts as they place, so many times I remain multiplied. The difference which exists is that in the sacramental consecration I need the hosts in order to multiply myself, and the priest who consecrates me, while in my will, in order to be multiplied, I need the acts of the creature in which my will consecrates me and encloses me more than in a living host, not a dead one, like those hosts before my consecration. So I am multiplied in each one of her acts done in my will. Therefore, my love has its complete outpouring with the souls who do my will and live in my volition. These are the ones who always compensate, not only for all the acts that creatures owe me, but for my very sacramental life. How many times my sacramental life remains obstructed in the few hosts in which I remain consecrated, because few are the communicants. Other times there are no priests to consecrate me, and not only is my sacramental life not multiplied as much as I would like, but it remains without existence. Oh, how my love suffers! I would like to multiply my life every day into as many hosts for as many existing creatures, and give myself to them. But I wait in vain. My will remains without effect. However, all I have decided will have its fulfillment. So I take another way, and I multiply myself in every living act of creature done in my will, to have them substitute for the multiplication of my sacramental life. Ah, yes, only the souls who live in my will substitute for all the communions that creatures do not do, for all the consecrations that priests do not do. In them I will find everything, even the multiplication of my sacramental life. Therefore, I repeat to you, your mission is great. I could not choose you for a higher, more noble, sublime and divine mission. There is nothing that I will not centralize in you, even the multiplication of my own life. I will make new prodigies of grace, never done before. So, I beg you, be attentive, be faithful to me. Let my will always have life in you, and I will find in you, in my own will, the work of creation as fully completed, with my full rights, and everything I want. March 28, 1922. All that Jesus did upon earth is in continuous act of giving itself to man. Correspondence for each created thing. Continuing in my usual state, I was fusing all of myself in the holy will of my lovable Jesus, and he told me, "Daughter of my will, if you knew the portents, the prodigies that occur when you fuse yourself in my will, you would be stupefied. Listen a bit. All that I did upon earth is in continuous act of giving itself to man, surrounding him like a crown. My thoughts form a crown around the intelligence of the creature. My words, my works, my steps, etc., form a crown around her words, works and steps, so that, by braiding her things with mine, I may say to my celestial Father that her works are like mine. Now, who takes this continuous attitude of mine? Who lets herself be braided by my works, with which I crowned the whole human family? One who lives in my will. As you were fusing your thoughts in my volition, my thoughts which surrounded you like a crown heard the echo of my thoughts in your mind, and identifying themselves with yours, they multiplied yours with mine, and formed a double crown around the human intelligence. And my celestial Father received, not only from me, but also from you, divine glory on the part of all created intelligences, the same with words and with all the rest. And he receives this divine glory not only from the creatures, but from all other created things, because all things were created to make continuous love run toward man, and man, by justice, should give homage and love to his Creator for each created thing. Now, who compensates for this? Who makes that fiat, through which all things were made, her own, so as to spread homage, adoration, divine love for her Creator over everything. One who lives in my will. She makes that omnipotent fiat her own almost at each word of hers. The echo of the eternal fiat echoes within her divine fiat in which she lives, and it spreads, it runs, it flies, impressing another fiat on each created thing, and giving back to her Creator the homage and the love wanted by Him. This was done by me when I was on earth. There was nothing for which I did not requite my Divine Father on the part of all creatures. Now it is done, and I want it, I expect it, by one who lives in my will. If you could see how beautiful it is to see my glory, my love, my profound adoration united to yours, in every flickering of stars, in every drop of light of the sun. Oh, how it runs, flies upon the wings of the wind, filling the whole atmosphere. It crosses the waters of the sea, it places itself in each plant, in each flower. It multiplies at each motion. It is a voice that echoes over everything, and says, "Love, glory, adoration to my Creator." Therefore, one who lives in my will is the echo of my voice, the repeater of my life, the perfect glory of my creation. How could I not love her? How could I not give to her all that I should give to all the other creatures together, giving her primacy over all? Ah, my love would feel constrained if I did not do so.